Hi, my name is Pauline Zeilinga, and this is my persuasive speech in support of the Second Amendment. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, but I was raised in a small southeast suburb known as Lansing, Illinois. Lansing was an ideal place to grow up. It was safe, happy, free of crime. But fast forward 40 years from 1975 to 2015, and my hometown of Lansing changed dramatically and for the worse. As reported by CBS News Chicago, on September 18, 2015, a woman walked into a burglary in progress. The burglar came at the woman armed with a hammer and forced her into the trunk of her car. He then drove her across state lines to an ATM where he stole $140 from her. Unfortunately, the crime spree did not stop there. He then drove to an abandoned parking lot where he repeatedly raped her, after which he strangled her until she passed out. When she awoke, she was on fire in a roadside ditch. A nearby surveillance video shows a woman with her legs on fire stumbling toward a gas station. Days later, the police found the man 2 states over in his home state of Michigan. This man's name is Carl Clay, and the woman's name is Diane Pransky, and she is my friend. Carl Clay was armed with a large hammer, and Diane had nothing to defend herself. If Illinois had reasonable gun laws like Florida does, perhaps she would have not been victimized by these crimes. If she had a concealed carry and had a gun on her person, she could have joined thousands of people who thwart crimes each year by carrying a gun. The 1994 survey conducted by the CDC found that Americans use guns to frighten away intruders from breaking into their homes nearly 500,000 times per year. In a 1982 study of male felons in 11 state prisons dispersed across the U.S., found that 34% had been scared off, shot at, wounded, or captured by armed victims. 40% had decided not to commit a crime because they knew or thought their intended victim had a gun. And 69% knew of a fellow inmate who had been scared off, shot at, wounded, or captured by an armed victim. Based on these statistics, if my friend Diane Pransky had been armed with a gun, she could have defended herself without even firing a shot. Although these numbers do prove that guns effectively deter crime, anti-gun lobbyists still argue for more gun control. While it might seem convincing to some that gun bans will save lives and cut crime, experience suggests differently. Let's go back to Chicago, my home city, Illinois, run by Rahm Emanuel. Chicago has some of the strictest gun control laws in the nation, yet according to USA Today, murders in the nation's third largest city are up 72% and shootings are up 88% in the first 3 months of 2016. Chicago has had over 300 murders this year and is on pace to go over 500. According to a new study from the Brennan Center for Justice, the murder rate rose the greatest in cities run by Democrats who impose hefty gun controls on their populace. Those Democratic mayors tell their citizenry that they don't need guns. They say that these matters are best left up to the police. What a shame. They are hypocrites, because instead of cracking down on crime in these violent cities, they're cracking down on the police instead, and they are doing this in 3 ways. First, they're requiring the officers to prove why they make every investigative stop. Secondly, police prosecutions are way up. Just for example, in Baltimore, Maryland, these 6 officers with the Freddie Gray killing, they were acquitted, but it's still chilling on the police nationwide. And now, today, the police have become the targets of snipers and killers. First, we had it in Dallas, where these 5 police officers were shot and 11 others were wounded. And then in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Eugene Long targeted 3 police officers, killing them and injuring 3 others. These targeted killings of police are compounded by a chance to kill the police. These same kill the police groups are advocating for the police to be disarmed. This is crazy. No wonder our police are now less willing to intervene, which makes gun ownership all the more important for personal safety. In addition to increasing homicides in our largest cities, the threat and reality of terrorism is also on the rise. In 2014, more than 32,000 people were killed in terrorist attacks around the globe. At that time, only a small fraction of those attacks were in Western nations. That all changed, though, in November of 2015, when radical Muslim terrorists strapped on suicide vests to kill 137 and injured 368 in Paris, France. Radical Islamic terrorism is on the rise not only in Europe, but is also becoming a common occurrence in the United States as well. In December of 2015, the San Bernardino couple at a Christmas party put on assault gear and killed 14 people and injured 7. And then just in June of 2016, Omar Mateen killed 49 people and injured 53 at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. However, as disturbing as these mass murders are, they are not the fault of guns. Politicians and anti-gun lobbyists use only these mass shootings to advocate for greater gun control when the real threat is radical Islamic terrorism. However, mass killings have been accomplished by airplanes, suicide vests, pressure cookers, and now even trucks. In April 2013, who can forget the Tsarnaev brothers in the Boston Marathon bombings, using pressure cookers to kill 3 people and injuring 264, many of whom lost their limbs. And then just here in July, in France, Nice, France, Bastille Day, people watching the fireworks, a Tunisian man took a 19-ton truck and ran over 80, killing 84 and injuring 300. A shocking statistic on the Religion of Peace website is there have been over 40 attacks carried out by decapitation, vehicles, pressure cookers, knives, strangulation, and guns. Terrorists killed by all these people by all and every means possible, escalating crime and what seems like weekly and now daily terrorist attacks with decreased police presence makes gun ownership increasingly necessary to protect yourself and your family. Imagine if someone in Paris or Nice, France had a gun not only to protect him or herself, but also the other people in the crowd. What a difference it would make in your own life if you came home to someone in your home late one night and you were armed and prepared. I know how different things would have been for my friend Diane Pransky, pictured here with her daughter. If she had had a gun, she would have been able to scare off the intruder as nearly 500,000 people do each year. She would not have been assaulted. She would not have suffered third-degree burns over 90% of her body. She would not have had to spend 9 months in the hospital suffering through countless skin graft surgeries, and her recovery has just begun. Owning a gun and knowing how to use it safely is becoming a necessity to protect yourself and your family from increasing violence and acts of terrorism when the police can't be everywhere to protect you. I personally do not own a gun, but I am considering it. But I do know that I intend to vote in November for politicians who promise to support the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms. Thank you.